Alrighty, this is the argument from design, also known as the teleological argument, sometimes pronounced the teleological argument. Here's essentially how it works. The main syllogism goes like this. Premise 1. The more complex something is, the more likely it's a product of design, and not random chance. Premise 2. The universe that we know, and many things within it, are infinitely more complex than all man-made design. And the conclusion, therefore, the universe is a product of design and not random chance. We believe then there's got to be a designer behind this, and we would call that designer God. Here's a little analogy to go along with it. Imagine you're traveling out in the middle of the ocean. You've traveled hundreds, if not thousands of miles out into the deep blue sea, and you happen upon a desert island. And you're like, wow, that's beautiful. Let's go check it out. And you jump off your boat, you climb around the island, and lo and behold, look what you find. A MacBook. Brand spanking new. It's working, it's loaded with programs, and everything else. Immediately, you don't think, wow, this must have been developed over billions of years of waves crashing onto ocean sand, with crabs walking across this thing, and then coconuts dropping from the trees, and so on and so on and so on. You don't think like that's how this got here. You automatically think, wow, somebody put this here. Somebody smart probably made this somewhere, and they designed the thing, and that's how it got here. Nobody in their right mind thinks this is just a randomly made object over billions of years. We always think that there's some designer behind it. And this is true for a lot of things. It's true for a book. If you pick it up and all the words are organized together so it actually makes a whole story, you don't think, wow, this is just random. No, you think there's an author that wrote this thing. Same with a painting. You don't look at it and say, oh, wow, that must have been a lot of birds flying overhead pooping on it, and that's what it made. You think, wow, that's beautiful. There must be an artist who made that. Must be a painter. So this is kind of how it runs. Just to show and to highlight how complex and how designed our universe appears, our world appears, and how harmonious all these complexities kind of work together. I'm going to highlight 4 little examples, 5 actually. The first one. This is kind of simple, but not a lot of people think this way. There are about 395 different species of primates that help keep tropical rainforests growing. Without them, scientists don't really know how the tropical rainforest would continue to develop and regrow and so on and so on and so on. Here's how it works. Monkeys, as you know, like to fly around in the trees, jumping from branch to branch, swinging on vines, and so on and so on. And they also like to eat, and they eat fruit. And within fruit are seeds. The monkeys eat the fruit and some of the seeds, and they don't just sit there. They then travel around the rainforest. And eventually, they've got to go to the bathroom. When they go to the bathroom, well, they basically drop fertilizer bombs wherever they are. Packed in fertilizer are fruit seeds. And those seeds then, planted far away from where they originally came from, can grow in those new spots. So lots and lots of monkeys are doing this, and they help kind of keep the rainforest growing all over the place. Another example. There's over 1,000 different species of bats out there. As many people know, bats are wonderful friends of ours because they eat mosquitoes and lots of other bugs. Scientists would all agree that without bats controlling the insect population, we would have all kinds of issues. Not only that, but also bats pollinate and disperse all kinds of seeds all around the world. So we need them. Without them, a lot of crops would fail. Another example. Buzz bees. Bees, there are over 20,000 different species of them. And of course, bees help pollinate all kinds of crops and plants. However, bees are vitally important, way more important than people usually think. An Oxford expert said this at one point. He said, "We rely upon bees for just about every vegetable, flower, and fruit around. We would face mass starvation without them." Holy cow. If you've noticed in the news at all the last, decade or so, There's been news about bees and the bee population kind of dwindling. And I've always kind of thought, like, all right, what's the big deal? Like, they're not going to sting us. Who cares? But scientists are freaking out. And always kind of like, oh, settle down. But really, they should freak out, because if we don't have bees to help pollinate all of these vegetables and fruits and so on that we rely on, we'd be in a lot of trouble. So scientists should freak out. We need these guys. Another one. This is plankton. There's over 50,000 different species of plankton floating around in the ocean. And plankton, I didn't know this until I looked into this a little bit more, they produce about half of the world's oxygen. Half. Yeah. Without them, human life and pretty much anything else that needs to breathe oxygen wouldn't have such a great chance of living. So thank you, plankton. Another big example of complex harmony that shows that maybe there's a designer behind all this is us, the human body. Holy guacamole. Our skeletal system working together, our muscular system, our digestive system, our respiratory system, our nervous system, our circulatory system. Carve any human being open once they're dead, and you quickly realize how interactive every piece of our body is, especially the brain. Holy cow. The brain's so complex, so amazing. Every little detail of that, our eyes, our fingernails, even, you name it, we are a very complex organism that looks quite a bit like it's been designed, not just random chance. You know, billions of years, you'd rather bet that somebody designed this amazingly created being than say, like, oh yeah, randomly over billions of years, like, this is how it came out. Again, place your bet on the more obvious example. It looks like it's designed. Some more things to kind of keep in mind here. Scientists call this the Goldilocks principle. It's the Goldilocks story, if you recall. Goldilocks stops in to the bear's house while they're gone, and she's trying all the porridge, and one of them's too hot, the other one's too cold, and the other one's just right. The Goldilocks principle is what scientists would refer to when talking about the habitable zone of Earth. If the Earth was a bit farther away from the sun, our giant star in our universe, then it would be too cold. Way too cold. Like, it would be an ice block. You wouldn't have human life able to exist at all on a big chunk of ice. Also, conversely, if the Earth was just a little bit closer to the sun, it'd be too hot. Way too stinking hot for any kind of Earth to actually survive. So, quite nice that our planet, the planet we live on, is just the perfect distance away from the sun where we can actually survive on it, and everything else that we depend on can also survive. Now stretch that a little bit further. How about the entire universe? Why is the universe that we live in just right for life? Scientists call this the anthropic principle. Here's how it kind of works. The universe seems to have been specially designed from the beginning for human life to evolve. If the temperature of the primal fireball that resulted from the Big Bang some 14 billion years ago, which was the beginning of our universe, if it had been a trillionth of a degree colder or hotter, the carbon molecule that is the foundation of all organic life could never have developed. The number of possible universes is trillions of trillions, and only one of them could support human life. This one. This sounds suspiciously like a plot. If the cosmic rays had bombarded the primordial slime at a slightly different angle or time or intensity, the hemoglobin molecule, necessary for all warm-blooded animals, could never have evolved. The chance of this molecule evolving is something like a 1 in a trillion. Add together each of these chances and it becomes almost completely unbelievable that there is no designer behind it all. Conclusion here. These are a bunch of monkeys, as you can see. An argument that a lot of atheists will bring up is, well, isn't it possible that the entire universe could have been designed by chance? And maybe, yeah. But it's comparable to this. Someone once said that if you set 1 million monkeys at 1 million typewriters for over 1 million years, one of them would eventually type out all of Shakespeare's Hamlet. Yeah. And I guess, you know, if you think about it, millions of years, millions of monkeys, millions of typewriters, randomly typing away on the keyboards. Yeah, that could happen. That actually probably could happen. But the likeliness of that happening is kind of slim. Kind of really, really slim. Like, holy cow, that seems kind of ridiculous. Instead, when we see a text, whether it's Hamlet or something else, you think this isn't just random. Like, there's something that purposely put this together. So, why then does an atheist use this incredibly improbable explanation for the universe? The universe was just designed by really nothing. It's not actually designed at all. It's just a whole bunch of random things that for billions and billions and billions of years formed together to make this all possible and for us to exist and the carbon molecule to happen and for all the complex harmony, you name it. In the end, you see clearly an atheist is going to say something like this, the Hamlet Shakespeare monkey example, because it's the only real chance of remaining an atheist. To have to say like, well, it could happen this way. And yeah, to be honest, it could. But those chances are so stinking slim. 0.00000000000000001% of happening. But again, if that's your bag, I guess, an atheist has to have more faith then to believe that the universe is made by random chance than a theist needs to believe the universe was a product of design. I'm all for faith. Faith combined with reason. And reason, of course, leads me to believe that the universe was not just random chance, but in fact is a product of design. And if it is a product of design, there's a designer, and I would call that God.